Welcome to the Tournament Poker Edge podcast, brought to you by TournamentPokerEdge.com, the only podcast dedicated exclusively to poker tournament strategy. Now here's your host, Clayton Fletcher.
Hello once again, everybody, and welcome to the Tournament Poker Edge podcast. I'm your host, Clayton Fletcher, back in New York, but I've got a whole team of co-hosts and even a special celebrity guest, Bracelet winner, on the podcast with us today. First off, let me introduce a man who actually needs no introduction. He is, I believe last time I called him the Big Cheese or the head honcho at TPE. Welcome, Derek Killingbird Tenbusch. Derek, how are you?
What's up? What's up? I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
So Derek's in the house, and normally that would be enough, but no, this week we also have old school OG TPE personality himself, who is now crushing the DFS scene and whatever else. But you guys know Marc Alioto. What's up, Marc?
Happy to be here. What's up, TPE Nation?
And save our guest of honor for last. He was just on the podcast like probably about a month ago, and he gave everyone some excellent advice on how to get a diamond card on the cheap. I'm interested to find out if he's still as nitty after his 6-figure score and bracelet, by the way, in the World Series of Poker online the other day. You guys know the formerly homeless poker player, Carlos Welch. Carlos, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, man. Happy to be here.
Have you gotten any sleep since you won your bracelet?
A little bit, not much.
All right, so Derek, you know that Carlos is a TPE like success story. So what do you want to say to him right now, knowing that he's the first one of the four of us to win anything?
Well, first of all, I have to apologize to the man because I had gone to bed early that night. Marc actually, I woke up to use the bathroom at like 2 a.m, and Marc had texted me, and he's like, dude, Los has a real opportunity to win a bracelet. He's like 15 of 30 or whatever. So I opened up the Twitch stream and I started watching, and I posted a couple of chats in there, and I think Carlos saw him and he responded. And I watched, and the next thing I knew, I woke up with my phone laying next to my head and the sun was out. And I kind of had this weird feeling like I was going to open up my phone and see that he had won. But there was part of it that was like, fuck, if he won, I missed it. And that's kind of a bummer. But anyway, I opened up my phone, and sure enough, there were like 27 notifications on my phone from various people saying he had won. And I'm like, I can't believe I missed it. But I was so incredibly happy. And I know Marc felt the same way.
Yeah, Marc, what do you think? I mean, Carlos is like kind of the original guy that everybody loves to root for. You know, he came from nothing. He started from the bottom. Now he's here, right? So what are your thoughts, Marc?
Well, the first thing that came to my mind, I was like, is he still going to want to go to Fat Burger with me and get an Oreo milkshake? Because he might be too high class now where he wants to go like somewhere hell of expensive. I don't know.
Hey, let me interrupt right here.
Go ahead.
I'm 2 minutes late for the podcast because I stopped at Fat Burger on the way. and the reason I stopped at Fat Burger, I actually went to FedEx, and I was driving back, and I had plenty of time to get back. But then I thought to myself, yeah, I'm going to get to talk to Marc today. And then when I pictured Marc, I thought about Fat Burger.
That's so bad. But I love it.
And I said, I have to stop at Fat Burger just for Marc. So that's why I'm late.
In all seriousness, no, like if it wasn't me out of my own selfish greed, you'd be right up there for the one person I would want to win a bracelet. So, yeah, I haven't even talked to you in like a year and a half, something like that. Congratulations, bro. And yeah, I fell asleep too. I'm guilty. I was watching it, but like 3 a.m. hit and I was like out, and I randomly woke up at 5 and I checked Twitter and I was like, holy shit. He did it. Like, he did it. And I literally just had the biggest smile on my face, bro. I'm so happy for you.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you, man. You guys are awesome.
It's so crazy because we the TP family and Carlos being a part of it goes back like so far, like it just seems like it's been so long. And Carlos was always kind of the one that like in a lot of ways worked harder than many of the rest of us, like he was, well,
hey, Carlos, don't get me wrong. Carlos works hard. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know. I worked pretty hard too. I did.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
I did.
No doubt.
But
I
like,
agree
he
with
does. He like, I'm not gonna take away anything from him. Like, yeah, I get what you're saying though, Derek. I agree, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but
No, it's cool. It's cool. Yeah, it was just, I feel like with Carlos, it was always like kind of nonstop, like he was just always looking for the next tournament to go play, studying, listening to podcasts, reading, just getting involved in the industry and starting the Twitch stream. And like, he was just always kind of at it, whereas I took lots of breaks.
And he lasted longer than all of us. I mean, he's still in it. And yeah, Carlos, especially in Vegas, like tournament would end, he'd be going to fucking downtown Vegas to play in the Binion, whatever. And like, I mean, it's all heart and dedication, bro. It's no shocker you did get Bracelet. Dude, I wanted you to win that second, like was it 2 nights later? That was insane too.
Oh yeah, that would have been a hell of a story. I had a deep run. So I won the Bracelet. I took the next night off. And then the next tournament I played was a Bracelet event, and I got 31st out of like 1,000 runners. So yeah, that would have been a great story as well.
That would have. Now I was watching the Jeff Platt stream when there was maybe like 30. I guess there were maybe like 36 players left, and Carlos, it caught my attention. He tweeted out something like, "Hey guys, for some reason I'm on the featured table for the first time ever on the WSOP stream," or something like that. Kind of like, his typical sort of self-deprecating sense of humor. Like, for some reason they're showing me on there. That's just Carlos for you. And then, I watched for a little bit, but, there was a long way to go. Like, that might not sound like a lot, but 36 players, like, you still only have, and he didn't have that many chips at that point. So, like, he still only has, like, at best, like a 35-1 chance of winning the Bracelet from there. So I was like, oh, man, good luck, Carlos. I'm going to bed. And then I wake up to all the, like you said, Derek, all the notifications. I'm like, oh, boy, here we go. So, yeah, we're all just, super happy. Now, for those who don't know, Carlos kind of began. Carlos, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I know, you basically began your poker career playing small stakes sit and goes, and eventually wanted to learn more about MTTs, and that's what brought you to TPE. So far, so good?
Yeah, I started with sit and goes around 2004, and I grinded those up until just before Black Friday. And then I started moving to multi-table sit and goes, 18 mans, 45 mans, 180 mans. And then by the time I got to 180 mans, somebody mentioned to me, Buffy Slayer, shout out to Buffy Slayer, mentioned to me, like, if you're playing 180 mans, you should check out this new training site, TPE, because, these are basically tournaments anyway. So that's when I got started with TPE, which was right around the beginning. I want to say a few months after TPE started in 2010.
Yeah. Now, what you're known for, among other things, is like being kind of the ultimate nit. I've heard you on other podcasts, and we even talked on this one about how you had a sort of such a passion for saving every penny. Like, you were into, like, driving in such a way that doesn't use as much gas, or, at this point, your stories are kind of legendary, how you lived like in an office space for a number of months. And, of course, the Knitmobile, which was the car that you were living out of. But the last time we talked, you were moving into and living at the Rio. And I remember joking, like, you were saying that the Rio is like the lap of luxury, when a lot of poker players kind of like to denigrate the Rio as not being very luxurious. So one man's trash is another man's treasure. But where are you living now? Did you move up to the Wynn or something?
No, I'm still at the Rio, and I'm looking for ways to further decrease my monthly expenses, not increase them.
So you're not going to let this money change who you are fundamentally, the ultimate nit.
Definitely not. If anything, I'll get cheaper.
Oh, I don't doubt it. That's awesome.
Yeah. Does the bracelet come with platinum status?
It comes with diamond status.
Or diamond.
But what's funny, that was I've wanted that forever because I hate resort fees. And I had this scheme of staying at all these Super 8s in April and May. And I did that to get the diamond card through the Wyndham promotion that they have. And then the moment I earned the diamond card the hard way, I win a bracelet, and I don't even get a benefit from the fact that it comes with the bracelet.
Yeah, so every bracelet winner gets diamond status for, I believe, 1 year. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, well, this is so cool. So for those who don't know, I mean, I know Carlos has been on like basically a media tour doing every single podcast because the whole poker community just loves you so much. So we appreciate you making time for us with our little show here. But yeah, for those who may not know, last week Carlos won the 888, right?
Yes, the Crazy Eights tournament. During this online version of the World Series this year.
Wow, which is amazing. So it was what, 100 and how much was it that you won?
124,000, roughly.
Yeah.
125.
Now, if you guys know Carlos as we do, him winning 124K is like me winning 5 million. Like he is never going to run out of money.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think I'm still living on that 27K from 2015. Major.
All right. So, Derek, what do you have for him? This is too much.
Well, one of the first things I was wondering was like, does this mean like no more teaching and no more? Because I know you were like running up to Oregon to teach or something, and I was like, oh shit, now he doesn't have to do anything but play poker.
I have 6 weeks. In 6 weeks, I'll be up there working.
Oh, wow.
So just waiting for the school year to start and waiting for this. So the way they've been doing these online circuit series in addition to the bracelet series, and they've been doing them around like the last 2 weeks of every month. So I'm going to actually start. So the bracelet series is still going on, but the July circuit series starts in a couple of days. So I'll be playing those two concurrently. And then I'll play the ring events at the end of August. And then the school year is going to start at the beginning of September. So I'm going to shoot up there and sub for a couple of days until the ring events start at the end of September. Then I'll be back for those. And then, I'll be here in October when hopefully you guys get to town.
Yeah, for the live WSOP, the slightly delayed live WSOP. Yeah, I was thinking like in a normal year, if we ever have a normal year again, we would be like wrapping up the World Series of Poker right now. Like as we record this, right on July 14th. Like I think that was the day that I busted out of the main event a few years ago.
Too soon.
Yeah, it's like it doesn't feel like the World Series should be ending because we're all kind of adjusting to the new schedule for this year. And I know a lot of people want it to be every fall, but I don't know. I like being in Vegas in the summer because I'm weird. I like heat, so I'm all about it. I'm the only one. I know I'm weird like that.
As long as I can still go in the pool, I'm happy.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there's air conditioning, there's pools. It's all good.
I got a couple questions for Carlos, if I can ask Clayton.
Yeah, go.
So, curious, it's been a long time. What have you been playing up to this? I know you're getting coached by a lot of guys, which I was like a big proponent on as well. I think getting coached is the best way to get better, along with videos and other stuff like that. But yeah, fill me in, please. And I'm sure the rest of the TP Nation wants to know, like, what have you been playing bankroll wise? Yeah, I'm really curious. Like mostly online for me, but I'm sure everyone else wants to hear the live stuff.
Well, I pretty much don't play live anymore. So it's been pretty much all online. And it's I've basically just worked my way up the stakes on Ignition. So maybe the last time you and I talked, I was probably playing like a $50 ABI on Ignition. But since that time, they've moved up to the 109s, and they've started to get a decent volume of higher buy-in stuff as well. And so they have a weekly high roller that's like 300, but then they'll occasionally do some 500s, and I think 1,000 is the biggest they go. And so I've basically worked my way up that ladder, and I'm basically firing everything that runs on Ignition. At this point, I'm going to say probably like either 109s or like 215s and up. So on Ignition, my ABI is probably around like 200 now, roughly on average.
And are you playing on any other sites? ACR?
Oh, yeah. I'm so glad you brought this up.
Well, yeah, 'cause, I'm so curious because I used to know everyone's BB per 100 in my stable.
Yeah.
And ACR is basically like, what are you doing playing on this site? Not to poo-poo on ACR. It is a really good site, but it's really tough.
I smiled so hard one day reading your Twitter because I started playing on Bet Online, and nobody really knows my screen name on there, but you saw it and you were like, "This is the greatest screen name ever," and you had no idea it was me. I wonder if you remember.
I do. Jay Smith posted it.
Yeah, that's me on Bet Online.
Well, that was the one thing you and I always had in common was, like, even when PokerStars was around pre-Black Friday, I was already on Carbon and all the poo-poo sites, just like winning at like 25 BB per 100 while everyone's battling it out for like 3 or 4 big blinds. Like, and ROI is like 80% while everyone's like so happy with a 15% ROI. I'm like, okay, you guys go ahead and glory chase. It's why it's like so perfect that you want to Bracelet, because you are so anti-glory hunting.
Yes.
You're just like, let me grind on Bovada. Nobody knows my name. I don't want any recognition. I mean, that's why your story could not – it's like a fairy tale, dude. It's like insane. Lives out of his car, wins a Bracelet, still going to Fat Burger, thank God. So go ahead. Sorry. Ace, you're on Bet Online, Bovada.
Bet Online, Bovada. I don't play on ACR anymore.
At all? Zero?
No. You know what? So I stopped playing on ACR a couple of years ago just because it was just like way tougher than Ignition. Mm-hmm. And so even the highest stakes on Ignition are softer than like, some of the low stakes stuff.
Oh God, you do not want to be saying this right now. I'm sorry I asked you this. I know you don't want anyone to know this.
This is me in a nutshell. I do this every year. I always publicize this stuff, and then all of a sudden the site gets tougher. You remember ACR used to be really soft.
Yeah.
until I started doing stuff like this and others. So that's where I'm playing, and as I've improved, maybe I'll dip my toe back in the ACR waters, but it's hard to justify playing against better players for low stakes when you can play against weaker players for higher stakes.
It's impossible to justify, right?
Yes, smaller fields, so lower variance. I had a joke.
Preach.
Yeah, I had a joke on Twitter the other day, which is I can't remember if I think I put this up before I won the Bracelet. Actually, this was a DM. I was DMing with a friend before I won the Bracelet, and I said something to the effect of, "These bracelets are like cheese on a mousetrap." Meanwhile, the Barney Fife is guarding the door to the Velveeta factory. Basically comparing these WSOP events to Ignition. And I was kind of questioning, like, why am I doing this? But part of the reason is because this past month, Ignition has been experimenting with running like all PKO tournaments, and I don't want to play that. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll play on WSOP this month. But I was looking forward to, last month ending so I can get back onto Ignition. But I looked at the schedule. They're still mixing in some PKOs, man. It's like, I guess most people like that format, but I just rather play a regular old tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Derek, we know how I feel about the PKO format. I'm all about it, man. That's my jam right there. I love PKOs.
Yeah, I've heard episodes where you talk about that.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for listening, man. I'm sure you won't listen anymore now that you're big time Bracelet winner, superstar.
He's gonna be on every podcast.
Yeah, he's not gonna listen to anything.
So does this change your plans for the World Series, Carlos? Like, are you going to play more live now?
No, the only thing that
He just shot it down.
No.
Yeah, the only thing I plan on playing during the live WSOP this year is the Bracelet event. No, I was an idiot. The tag team event. Yeah.
I mean, what you said though, like you have a recipe. Like your recipe is what other people should clone. It's how you make money. It's how you get to where you are. Is the sit and goes to 180 mans and then like, oh, tournaments. Like I'm gonna try these out. And I mean, you put yourself in this spot because of like your progression, how hard you worked, and like that's what other people need to know. Like other people are just like, oh, TPE members, casual players, like, oh, I'm gonna play on ACR. They have the boom-tacular $1 million event. It's like, bro, there's 90 people multi-accounting on there, VPNing from all over the world. Like, it's not soft. Like, not to say other sites that aren't VPNing and stuff, but I think it's so cool, man.
The field sizes are crazy. That was one of the things that I think helped me coming up on Ignition, because at least up until the pandemic hit, their field sizes were generally pretty doable. But it got crazy right at the beginning of last year during the pandemic. It's kind of like getting back to where it was, but not completely. So a lot of players prefer bigger fields. I like smaller fields, man.
Let me ask you this, Carlos, because I'm listening to everybody just singing your praises about how good you are at game selection and being careful about what you play and really doing everything the right way. Why the hell did you play the Crazy Eights?
I'm so glad you asked that.
Get him, Clayton.
I was thinking that, and this is why. So, one thing we haven't mentioned is like in the last couple of years, like starting around 2017, I started doing coaching. So I picked up some coaching students, and a couple of years ago, I guess it might have just been 1 year ago now, one of the guys who came to me for coaching, surprisingly, was Andrew Brokus, who was my coach. And like I mentioned, during the pandemic, because people couldn't play live anymore, all the live players started to come back online, and the fields kind of skyrocketed. And Andrew was one of those players. And the past couple of years before that, with him being a live player, I had more experience playing online, especially in small and medium stakes tournaments than he did. And so he came to me to get coaching on what's working for me in these games, especially since he had just also come off writing Play Optimal Poker, which is a book about GTO. So his mindset was all geared towards battling good players. And then to, jump into, the softer games online, he was looking for just how exploitable are these people. So I did a hand history review for him, and we recorded it and made a product out of it to sell on his website, exploiting small stakes tournaments on netcast.com. And so I did that, and then the same stuff that I talked to him in that one about, I worked with another TPE pro, Alice Fitzgerald, and basically made another product that was just the same stuff but in classroom format as opposed to a hand history. So I say all that, and that one's called How to Exploit Small Stakes Tournaments. How to obliterate passive tournaments. I'm sorry. So the reason I bring all that up is because I don't play live anymore and all my volume has been on Ignition, I don't have a big public profile in terms of results. And so in order, that kind of stuff helps with marketing for coaching and selling products. And so I noticed that with all these online WSOP events they've been having, those actually get reported on Hindenmob, where, you win, the Bovada Major, Hindenmob's not going to report that. So that's why I decided to dip my toe in some of these WSOP events just to kind of like, build up my Hindenburg profile and basically build up my public profile as a coach.
So you basically took a break from crushing all the fish on Ignition and decided, oh, let me just go win a bracelet real quick so I can make more money coaching.
Yeah. Basically, yes.
I love this guy. Carlos is my favorite of all time. All right, what do you guys have to ask him before we hear some of his hands? Because I'm very curious about how he approached these hands after all the time he spends playing against players who basically have no idea what they're doing to go into. I mean, I've played on some of these bracelet events. They're not easy, man. That's a legitimate bracelet he won. Make no mistake about it.
Yeah, it's damn impressive. I mean, I guess the only thing I need to know is it cool if me and Mark crash at your house during the World Series? We need a couch to sleep on.
You mean his car?
Well, yeah. The issue is I only stay at the Rio when the rooms are cheap, and they're not going to be cheap in October.
During the main event and stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. So right now I'm getting rooms sometimes like $11 a night. And I would say on average it's probably around like $20 a night, everything included. But that's probably going to be around $150 during the World Series. So I'll be back in my car then. So if you want to take the passenger seat, Mark takes
if you got a baby seat, baby seat I can fit in that.
Yeah, car seat in the back. Yeah.
Mark takes the cup holder.
Oh, fuck off. You can't big dog me, Carlos.
I'm also like fairly sure that like in all the days of us sitting around the pool and stuff in the back of the TPE house and just talking, like, we would always have these like just kind of long conversations about like, about winning bracelets, or like, would you want to, or what would you do if you won? I'm sure there was some sort of like, whoever wins one first has to do X, Y, or Z, but I don't remember, so I can't really enforce it.
Yeah,
I can make one up real quick.
There's a really good chance that if that was the case, I wasn't involved in that conversation, because you remember for a long time I was not interested in playing bracelet events. The only reason I'm interested this time is because they've been, moved online, and that's kind of my wheelhouse. So, like I said, when the series starts this year, just because I won, I'm not going to be firing all the live bracelet events. It's like that still is not something that's enjoyable to me.
Yeah.
But the tag team you're going to play.
Yeah, I'm going to play the tag team probably with Andrew Brokus. And that one, is just, it's too fun not to play.
Yeah, that's a blast. I remember the three of us played it. That's right.
Yeah. That was such a great time, man. Such a great time.
Yeah, but he dropped you guys for Andrew, and I don't blame him.
Neither do I.
I don't either.
Hey, I dropped both of them in a heartbeat.
Yeah, if I could have Andrew as my partner, I would play every
See you
tag
later.
team.
Carlos has seen my Twitch stream. He knows what he's getting into.
He knows. All right, Mark, did you have anything else for Carlos before we start doing some strategy?
I do, but let's get into the strategy. I'll ask.
Yeah.
We'll get
Well, let me jump in here really quick. My main reason for wanting to do this episode and bringing you guys on is I wanted to kind of like, if this may be not doable in the interest of time, but that blog I made on Tournament Poker Edge, when I just got started in 2013, I kind of just wanted to like go through some of those old posts and reminisce to kind of just see my progression from the beginning to where I am now. I don't know if that's something we can do, but
definitely we should do that. That's a great way to kind of look back on, from where you started in the early days at TPE and how your knowledge of the game and your expertise have come along. I think that would lead us well into strategy. Maybe not every single post, of course, but pick a few highlights. Why not?
Let's just start with the first one. And so there's this section of the forums on TPE called Poker Goals and Challenges, and guys go in there and they'll make a post saying like what they plan on doing, and they're gonna like update as they progress through this goal. And I saw a lot of people doing that, but most people did not stick to it. They did it for a couple of months and like lost interest or whatever. But I was really determined that I was gonna keep this thing updated. And so, like I said, I started with TPE in 2010 when the company started, but I left right after Black Friday because I thought poker was over. So I was like, I'm not gonna, remain a member of a training site if I can't play poker. But I came back like a year later when, like Mark said, these other sites started popping up like Merge. So when I realized that online poker wasn't over, I came back to TPE, which was like the end of 2012. And then the beginning of 2013 is when I started this. So this is January 2nd, 2013, my post in the Poker Goals and Challenges forum. So first of all, I can't even say this without rolling my eyes, but the title of it is Loxy's First Professional Poker Year 2013. So Loxy was my PokerStars screen name, and it's LOXXII. And when I made it, it's like a combination of my nickname. So my name is Carlos, my nickname is Low, and the my football number written in Roman numerals. So XXI. I never meant for anybody to pronounce this. So when I heard people say it, I was like, oh, that sounds like a girl's name. So I hate that name now, but that was the name of the thread, so I would read it. So basically, the first section is poker history. It says I've been a member for over a year, but I'm just now starting to use the forum. I started playing in 2003 and moved to online in 2005. I began at 9-man sit and goes, moved to multi-table sit and goes, which is when I signed up for TPE, and now I'm playing MTTs on Merge. I played a little live cash and even less online cash. Overall, I've been profitable, but I was an 8th grade math teacher in Atlanta for the last 5 years, and I have come back around to trying to do MTTs to eke out a small living, $2 to $3K monthly. My expenses are actually less than that now, to supplement my other streams of income. I am single with no kids, and I live very cheaply, so I'm very comfortable with this. so that was my original intro to this blog, and then the goals were a yearly profit of at least 30K, play 5 days a week, 10 to 15 tournaments a day. I'm rolled for games up to $11, but I will mostly play $5 games and lower to start out, and play satellites to take shots at bigger games. I may also play some small stakes and live cash to improve my post-flop game. I want to actively improve my game by watching videos, which I did on Tournament Poker Edge, discussing and posting hands in the forums, which I did in this forum, and also reviewing my own game. Another goal I had is to spend the summer in Vegas to grind small satellites and play at least one real $1,000 WSOP event. And then possibly play some smaller events at casinos in the South. And so those were the goals. I updated it every week. And that first update, it was like, me talking about grinding $2 tournaments.
Yeah.
And 4 months after that, I went to Cherokee to play live. And that's where I met Killingbird in person for the first time. And then 2 months after that, I went to WSOP in 2013. That's when I met Mark and all the rest of the guys, and they embraced me like family. And I think I probably said this on the podcast before, but if not, I'm going to say it again because it's worth repeating. I remember being at the Rio and like meeting up with the guys at the Rio, talking and whatnot. And then like afterwards, I'm expecting to go back to my room. They go their way. But they're like, no, we headed to the TPE house. You want to come? And so I was like, do I? and it was like, it was so funny. First of all, they had a rental car. It was Mark, Killingbird, Big Dog.
Was Diego there?
maybe Danny, I think maybe Diego was there, but you had a rental car and all you guys were like packed in a rental car, and I like squeezed in the trunk part of it.
That's right.
Where the luggage goes. You guys remember that?
Yeah.
And I love that. Before this, I was frequent listener of the TPE podcast, which all those guys used to host. So I'm riding in this car and just listening to these guys talk, and I'm like, fuck, this is like the podcast. It's like TPE live, but live.
I'm in the trunk.
It's like I'm in the trunk listening to a live podcast with, all these guys I know from online. But this is my favorite part. We get to the house. We hang out for a while. It's getting late. So I'm thinking, well, I probably should get back to my room. And they're like, no, you can just crash on the couch. And I was like, oh, this is great. I crashed on the couch, Clayton. The next day, all of these guys wake up before me. Or they wake up and they say, hey, we're all playing WSOP bracelet events. We'll be back later. I was like, oh, they're just going to leave me in this house by myself?
They trusted you.
The thought that went through my mind was like, man, these white folks trying to set me up. I was like, oh, I'm going to show their ass. I ain't touching. There's probably so much money in that house and all those rooms. There's TVs and stuff. And I was like, I ain't touching shit. I'm not moving off this couch. It definitely wasn't like that at all. But you got to keep in mind, I just met these guys in person for the first time. But like the way they embraced me, like family, and just like took me in. And like you said, Clayton had that trust for me. It was like, it's something I'll never forget.
Oh, that's such a great story. I mean, I love that you were so happy to be in the trunk.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm a bigger person now, but I wasn't a small person then. But
think of the average weight in that car, Carlos. The average weight in that car, I mean, Casey, Danny, me, Derek, and you, that's like 400 pounds average weight.
Yeah.
All right, not that much.
Some stress on the struts for sure.
Right. Do you guys remember that? Derek, do you remember the story he's telling?
Oh yeah, totally. I very clearly remember him riding in the hatchback area of the car for sure. And yeah, that was when I was reading through his thread. I had tweeted out that I was reading that thread, and that was the part that made me smile. Was when I got to the post where he says something about like, I'm going to North Carolina for this circuit event, and I get to meet KB. I'm so excited. And I was just like. It didn't seem weird at the time, I guess, but now in hindsight, now, I mean, I spent 8 summers or whatever in Vegas, with Carlos being a pretty big, fixture in those summers. I mean, he stayed at my house for a few nights. I've traveled down to Georgia and visited him. So it seems so weird to read it now, but at the time it probably made complete sense,
Well, Derek, we were talking about going to Cherokee again this year. Maybe we should all plan on reliving those glory days, go back to Cherokee and see how scared they are of a bracelet winner walking in the door.
Well, unfortunately, they don't have a live series or an internet series that he can play out there, so he won't have any fun.
Yeah,
I know he ain't gonna go back and grind those sit and goes at Cherokee again.
I don't think so.
I might,
He might. I'm not going to say it.
You never know. The thing I'm most looking forward to about the World Series this year, even though I don't like playing live, I love railing these guys live. So I'll definitely be there on everybody's rail in their deep runs, or hell, even day ones. Just there helping them out the best way I can, and just being a fan.
Yeah, well, when I was going deep in the main that year, I remember seeing your smiling face on the sidelines. I tell you, it gave me strength. Like, you're on day 6 of the main event. You're tired, man. And just like knowing that somebody else besides you cares about the outcome means a lot. It really does.
Yeah, so that's what I'm looking forward to. That's what I'm looking forward to the World Series this year.
All right. Well, hopefully we'll give you plenty of things to sweat. I hope we have a lot of sweating for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, Carlos, did you have any other posts that you wanted to share, from the old blog to kind of walk down memory lane a little bit?
Okay. So let me just, so I remember, so week 1, so this is so fun. reminiscing like this. So at the end of week 1, my first year as a professional player, quote unquote professional, I played 59 games. I had 12 cashes and a $245 profit. And I thought that was just the best shit ever. And I always, I'm remembering this as I see it. I always did a recap of the week, and I did like a good, a bad, and the ugly. And, basically, obviously the bad was just like some bad beat stories and shit. Let's see the good. So here's the good for that first week. I watched Killingbird's Stick It to the Man series, and I'm playing on another level now. I'm targeting people that fold too much and raising their blind regardless of my hand. I'm fighting back by 3-betting people who raise mine too much. Quote in parentheses, I'm not doing this enough though. Consider some alternate lines on the forum and posted them in my aha moments thread. So apparently I remember that. I had another thread where I was like, hey, like this is where we should like share our aha moments as we get better. I really like that. I watched some of Marc's vids on Duns to help me with satellites. Duns are double or nothing sit and goes. I also watched Mike Leah, Hurricane Jeff, and a ton of big dog videos. Most of my bust outs were me losing on the good side of a flip for 30 to 40 bigs instead of the ones I used to lose on the bad side for 10 to 20 bigs. So that was the first good version of the update in the block. Like, this is so fun. If you ever have time, for the listeners, if you just want to just read this thing from beginning to end, I highly recommend it. I've done it multiple times, and it's so cool kind of reading it almost as an outsider. I know it was me, but it's such a great like underdog story. Like really, Clayton, you put it perfectly at the beginning. Like, starting from nothing. Like I was playing $2 tournaments.
Yeah.
I was playing $2 tournaments at the beginning of this thing, and I was excited about a weekly profit of $245. And then by the middle, I'm in Vegas hanging out with these guys. So yeah, that's
here's
some old
the thing.
hands.
Here's the thing. Why you're my favorite, or at least one of my favorite, maybe my favorite TPE success stories, is that you didn't just buy a TPE membership. You used it. You used it the way it's meant to be used. I mean, you not only just like read the hands that were in the forums, you posted hands to the forums. You asked questions. You watched all the videos, got different opinions. Like, I mean, that's the way a coaching site is supposed to interact with the player, the customer, right? And the way that you work the system. And I mean, I know you probably picked it, and it was probably even recommended to you because compared to other sites, ours is super cheap and you're super cheap.
Yeah.
But then you end up finding out that we actually have so much incredible information. And, we had a lot of the players you named already are, still to this day some of the best in the game as far as playing and coaching. So to me, what makes it great is the way that you worked the site the way it's meant to be worked and got maximum value, obviously, for for the small amount that you were paying to belong.
What I always say is the difference between TPE and a lot of the other training sites I used at that time, like Card Runners and like 2+2 isn't like a video site, but it's another site that helped me get better in the beginning. It was like these guys interacted with you. Like, you would go in the forums, like, we would respond back and forth. And, like, even before I met them in person, I was kind of already making friends with them. And so it's cool it's easier to learn watching a video from your friend because, like, it's a familiar voice. It's a voice you want to hear as opposed to some, like, college professor that's droning on and making you fall asleep. Like, some of the Card Runner videos, like, I would learn from some of those guys, but like I never met them. I never talked to them in person. So after a while, that kind of student-teacher relationship kind of went away. And as a teacher, a math teacher, one of the things that I was always taught was students don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. and that was the
Wow.
TPE edge, and helping me get better, because I knew these guys cared about whether or not I got better or not. It wasn't just selling memberships.
That is a great quote. I'm going to never forget that quote. That is great.
Yeah.
The best thing about this thread, and I didn't know it until just now when I logged back in, is that Carlos found the pool photo of him with the life jacket on. I had posted in the thread and said, oh, so congratulations. I said, it's times like this where I wish I had the picture of you floating in the pool with the floaties.
Do I have the floaties pic? I may have that somewhere. I'm sure I didn't lose that one. It's one of those ones you hide somewhere. Oh my God, bracelet winner card. I should tweet that. I hope I can find it.
For people that don't know what he's talking about, one of the summers when we were hanging at the TPE house, which has a pool in the back, these guys were having fun. It couldn't have been the first summer, but the first summer I was with them, they were all having fun swimming in the pool. I can't swim. A lot of black people can't swim, and I'm one of them. And so I'm in this pool. I mean, I'm like, sitting on the edge. I'm scared as hell. And like, they're joking like, oh, just try it, man. I was like, no, y'all not going to kill me out here. And the next year I came, I bought a life jacket to sit in the hot tub with these guys.
You were loving life. You were loving life, too. Let's be clear.
Yeah. So the next summer I brought a life jacket to the TPE house so that I could hang out in the pool, and it was pretty cool. But they took a picture of it, and it's hilarious.
It's definitely on Twitter. That picture of the floaties.
I posted it to this thread because KB asked for it at the end. First of all, this thread was updated weekly from the beginning of 2013 to the end of 2013. And that was like the purpose of it. It was to document my first year. And then I didn't really do anything with the thread after that. But since then, when I won the bracelet, I came in. I'm trying to get to the end so I can see the dates on this. But I dropped in a link to the article of me winning the bracelet. So that was probably like the first post in 8 years of this blog. And then KB followed up with, I wonder where that life jacket picture is. And so I responded with the life jacket picture. So it's actually, you can see that picture as the last post in the blog.
This is so good.
Good. No, I think your story is, it's exactly what most people need to see. Most people, you could watch I think it was Evgeny Timoshenko, if I'm remembering his name. He deposited like $50 and like ran it up to like $10 million. I'm like, nobody does that. Like, that's not how it's done. How it's done is exactly how you did it. Like $245 in a month, probably like a 50% ROI or something like that. Like, I don't know, man. That's so cool. And to like look at that now and see that you have gold on your on your wrist, like, that's so sick. Like, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're just so happy about this. I mean, it's great. I mean, I feel like, Carlos, if I'm not mistaken, like, you're the one who first connected me with Derek. So it's like we're all family here, right?
Yeah, I think so. I want to say you came to the TPE house with me one time.
That sounds right.
And it was just from there, everybody just connected. So you had the same experience I had, where you listen to these guys forever and you know them from online, but you don't know them in person. But then when you meet them in person, they treat you like you grew up with them.
Yeah, the way you keep using the word family, I mean, that's how I felt since I first got involved with TPE myself. So, but of course, this podcast episode is not about me. It's about you, Mr. Bracelet winner. So let's get to some strategy now that we're almost an hour into this thing.
Well, you called it before. We were never going to go under an hour.
Yeah, we knew that for sure. But I'm sure the listeners are like, we want to hear how he won the bracelet. So, well, first of all, did you bring – I told you, I just texted Carlos yesterday. I said, I don't know if you've been talking about all of your bracelet hands from that event from the Crazy Eights tournament on every other podcast in the poker world. So if so, you could tell us a hand you played in a different event if you want. But what did you end up bringing?
Well, I definitely have some hands for the bracelet event.
Yes.
All
right.
I'm gonna drop this in the chat for you guys. That's the first gift I have for you.
Okay, so he just sent us a picture of the swimming pool. There he is with the with the flotation device. Yeah, we have to share that with everyone for sure. Yeah, that is great.
Yeah.
You look very safe, Carlos. Very safe.
That was my first trip out there, right, Derek? That's the house. Oh no, that's not. That's by the Rio.
Yeah. This was like, I want to say this is the one that's around. Well, I guess they both were kind of close to the crazy Brazilian lady's house, and I would walk from her place to hang out with you guys. But yeah, it's like it must have been like 5 feet deep. So I don't know what the hell I was afraid of, but I do look pretty safe in that picture.
Very safe.
They need to see this picture. Like,
yeah, we're gonna
Derek,
share
you gotta
it with
post
everybody.
it when you tweet out the podcast. Let this be in all of those tweets.
For sure. It has to. Yeah.
Okay, so here's one hand. This is actually
And maybe one you haven't done on every other podcast would be great. We want an exclusive, man.
I'm so rusty.
Yeah.
This is like, I'm like scared to talk about
Mark's
it.
like, who's pitching?
Okay.
I'm clicking the link so quick so I can like study big blind. Like, okay, is that the button or the cutoff? Like, it's been a while.
All right. So what we'll do is we can talk through the hand, and once it gets to be Carlos's decision, we will stop and talk about what kind of decision he should make. Okay. So in this hand, let's talk about the blinds, maybe like what level of the tournament we are at. In this hand, Carlos is on the button, and the blinds are 500 and 1,000 with some kind of ante mixed in. They don't do big blind ante in these type of bracelet events because it's online, so each player does chip in a little something for the ante, something like 125-ish or something, I guess.
It's 250. This
It's
hand,
250.
I think, right?
Okay, cool. All right.
Well-
yeah, there it is.
No. I think you're right. 125. My bad.
Okay. So
Yeah.
125 is the ante, so it's 501K with 125 ante. We are at a table that only has 8 players. It's the Crazy Eights tournament. That's why. We're on the button holding the 5 of diamonds, 6 of diamonds, and the action folds to us. The small blind has about 14K, and the big blind has 29K, and we have them both well covered. So this is just you have to open, right, guys? I mean, would the fact that the small blind is so short ever make you consider not opening? First question. What do you think, Derek?
No, I think I'm still opening here. We can very comfortably just raise, and if the small blind does anything, it's probably going to be a jam or at least a committing raise, so we can just easily fold.
Yeah, we'd have to if he gets aggressive with his stack. We can't afford to stay in with the 6-5 anymore. Carlos, can you tell us anything about the blinds here? Like, what are your opponents like?
Yeah, so the guy in the small blind is a regular. Usually when I'm playing on Ignition, if I say someone's a regular, that means they're on my level, which is probably like the top level on that site. But on this site, I have to make a distinction between regulars that are on my level and like Ms. Rocky, who I had to play against yesterday. So I have different color codes for like the elite players and the regular regs. This guy, in my opinion, is like a regular reg.
Yeah, he's been around forever. I recognize him. Sorry to cut you off, which is weird for me. I'm like, how?
You know that name, okay?
Yeah, 100%.
I think I know him
old
too.
guy.
I think he used to be in the same stable as me.
You know what, Derek? I think he was with Shane.
Yeah.
He's been around for a while, so I know that screen name. The guy in the big blind is a complete unknown.
Okay. Now this is too early to be in the money, right? We're not in the money yet?
No.
Okay. But registration is probably closed by this point, right?
If it's not closed, it will be closing in the next level or two.
Okay.
So it's getting.
Yeah. All right. So that's like kind of the stage of the tournament that we're at. So we all agree to open. I don't really usually vary my raise sizing too much. Like if I'm opening, I'm just going to open the same amount. Carlos chose a 2x. I think that's fine, especially because we do have to fold to the small blind shove, right, Mark?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other option is limping, but I prefer open as well.
Yeah, I do. I was gonna, in fact, like Mark was one of the first people that, talked about this back in the day before solvers started to confirm it, is that you can do a decent amount of limping when stacks start to get shallow. But just in my study with solver over the past couple of months, it's mostly when stacks are around 15 bigs. So even though the small blind, and see, I don't know, this could be a mistake I'm making. I've never gotten a good answer to this question. I know if I have 15 bigs, I will have a pretty big limping range here, as in terms of GTO. But if I'm the big stack and there's a 15 big blind effective stack, but then there's another guy who's also a bigger stack, like how do you decide which stack size you should open, relative to? So one thing that I've just kind of done on my own, which I don't know if it's correct or not, I just kind of take an average of the two players. And so on average, those two guys have 20 bigs. So off of 20 big blind stacks, I'm never limping here. I'm just going to go ahead and open. But if both of those guys have 15, this is a hand I would limp.
Interesting.
Or
All right.
jam. If they both had 15, jamming would be okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think jamming might be.
Especially if they call too tight, which most people do, then you can exploit it with jam.
Especially knowing Waddles will re-jam correct. Jamming, if they both had 15, might be the play. Whatever, we're not in that situation. Limping's kind of cool here because if the big blind does, he's not going to, if small blind folds, you can still call and be in position with a good hand. But, I mean, overall, I'm going to be opening here, same sizing as well.
So, Mark, you're saying if we limp here and the small blind folds and the big blind decides to raise, you can call that raise and play 6-5 in position because the big blind has enough chips. Right.
Suited, yeah, for sure.
Okay, yeah, I like that actually. I don't hate limping here, although I probably wouldn't do it. I don't think it's a bad play. Especially for that reason that Mark just mentioned. All right, cool. But we make it just the min raise here. We make it 2K, and only the big blind calls. So the small blind, whose name is Waddles, someone just mentioned. Waddles folds.
Waddles the pig.
Yeah, Waddles the pig. He's been outed. So he folds, and the big blind calls. So we're going to be heads up. We have the 6 of diamonds, 5 of diamonds, and with 5,500 in the middle, the flop comes 10 of clubs, 5 of spades, 5 of hearts. So that's how you win a bracelet.
Yes, that definitely helps.
All right, so we flop trips. This is certainly an above average flop for our hand. The big blind checks. Now, Derek, you think there's any reason to not c-bet here? I mean, we're going to be betting this board a lot, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can sort of see some arguments, I guess, for checking back. The biggest one, I guess, being that it's really hard for him to have hit this board because we pretty much have all of it. But I think we're expected to see bet here so much that if we think this guy's at all competent, we can kind of expect him to float a decent amount with 2 overs or maybe a pair of 6s or whatever. So I think I'd still go ahead and bet. I'm trying to decide what I would do in terms of sizing because obviously we don't want to lose the guy. I guess the question too is what do we do on the turn if we want to start thinking ahead? I guess part of me is thinking if we bet, we could either check here and then bet turn, or we can kind of bet here and then check turn. But I don't know if we can do both and get action.
You also won't get it all if you don't bet. The times he does have something, it's tough for to get it all.
No, you're right, Mark. It's probably going to be pretty hard to get it all anyway, just because the SPR on this flop is around 5. It's pretty hard to get that many chips in under any circumstances, especially on a flop of 10-5-5 rainbow. I mean, how crazy is this guy going to go like even if he has like an ace 10 or whatever, like he's not going to just be willing to put in like, 5 times the pot without.
I think if he has ace 10, he would be getting it all in at some point, depending on the run out.
Yeah, you may be right. You may be right about that.
Well, Carlos has so many worse 10s in his range that I think he'd have to get it in, especially with nut 10.
All right.
But yeah, you're right. Like the SPR is really high. So,
yeah.
But that's another reason why I would bet, because like an overjam on the river. I mean, depending on the turn, a lot of turns I would check back. That's not my full plan here, is to get it all, but I definitely like betting for everything Derek said. I think he said it perfectly. And you agreed, we're C-betting everything here. So
yeah,
I want to have a balance with my air and stuff.
Yeah, sorry, Mark. I was just gonna say I think checking is actually more suspicious. It's like, wait a minute, why did Carlos check that flop? I mean, come on. That's a flop. He loves this flop, right? Ace Queen loves the flop. Like, you're gonna bet most of your range on a flop, on a paired board like that. Is like kind of screams for a C bet.
The only reason to check this back would be if like the guy's turn. How do I remember this? I don't know. If the guy's turn. What's it called? Carlos, what's it called? Turn, if he just leads, is it
Pro bet?
Yeah, versus miss C bet. Like if his lead versus miss C bet is really high, using a HUD, you would want to check it back. In fact, because like he's susceptible. He's likely to punt. But yeah, I'm with this.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point. If he's a really aggressive player, like that is something that really aggressive players will definitely do, especially on boards where they're more likely to have the nuts than you. And maybe this guy could perceive that, given that, he should have more 5s in his range than I do. So maybe he's just going to go crazy. Because when I check back, my hand looks like, ace king, ace queen, or maybe like pocket 9s or something. So, he can try to like bluff me off of that. Yeah. I think most, like if this guy doesn't know me, I think he would expect most people to see bet a 10 on this flop.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a lot of good but not great showdown value hands that he can try to run me off of. You see that more often on some more coordinated small boards, like 5-6-3 or something like that. That sort of board. If you check back on that board, good players often, bomb turn and river. But if this guy's over aggressive, he may even do it on this board.
Right. So Carlos, how did you end up playing this flop?
So I bet for all the reasons that KB mentioned, but I do have a question for you guys that KB was kind of getting to. If you're betting here, what size do you choose?
Yeah. So I'm at the point where I see what you have bet. So I think I would go a little bit bigger, but not much, and it's probably a negligible difference. Like I'd probably go like 15, 1750, something like that.
All right, so that's one vote for 1750. And Mark, would you bet about that?
Yeah, I think this is fine. It's definitely less than half pot for sure. Like 1/3ish to this is. What do we go, 1/5 here roughly? Yeah, 1/5 to 1/3 I think is good.
Yeah, because you know, honestly, like when we have the opposite hand, like when we have something like Queen Jack, we just want to bet enough to get him to fold, King 9, right? Like we're not really trying to like get somebody to fold a 10 or whatever. Right. So when we're bluffing, we're going to bet small. So then kind of likewise when we're going for value, because we flop such a beautiful trips here, we shouldn't bet too much because the bet doesn't make sense, right? And there's no hand that should be betting pot on this flop.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And this is me trying to, because the average player on WSOP is tougher than the average player on Ignition, I'm trying to get out of my natural habitat and try and play more balanced. So I'm trying to mix in some value bets with some, like in a spot where I'm just going to be bluffing with everything. And like you said, Clayton, I'm trying to make this guy fold the bottom of his range. I'm not trying to make him fold anything he wants to call with. I'm basically betting enough to make the fold option pop up for him. And I view it as what I'm doing here is I'm trying to, when I'm bluffing in this spot, I'm trying to purchase a fold, and I want to get it for the cheapest price possible. Obviously, Hashtag NickCast.
Yeah.
But so if I'm going to do that, I also need to mix in some value hands in that sizing when I'm playing against a better average opponent.
Yeah. So basically, we make this bet with trips. We would make the same bet with like King Queen or whatever. So Carlos bet the minimum, actually 1,000, and gets called. So what do we make of the call? I mean, you bet so small that maybe he just calls with 2 overs, right?
Yes, 2 overs. Honestly, I think he has a lot of ace highs and king highs in his range because those sort of hands have showdown value. If he's good, he can't fold a hand like, say, 9-8 of clubs. The 10 is a club. He can't fold that hand to this bet, but most good players would elect to check raise that hand as opposed to call with it. So my bet size forces him to continue with a large percentage of his range. But when he continues through a call, I think it's a lot of showdown value stuff like ace high or king high.
Right, and it's just too cheap for him to fold yet, right?
Exactly.
What do you got, Mark?
Hey, Carlos nailed it on the head. It was perfect.
Cool. So we bet and get called now with 7,500 in the pot, and our opponent having about 26K in his stack. The turn is the ace of hearts, which is funny because I said he might have ace 10. Now we really, really hope he does, right? So he checks again. Feels like a 3 streets of value type of spot for me. Derek, do you want to check yet?
I don't think so. Nice thing about this card, so this is one of those cards where it's like either it's the GOAT card or the WOAT card. Like if he has like ace X or especially ace 10, we're like so stoked. But if he did call us with something like 9s or whatever, I don't think he would have that hand. But I don't know, just something else. Then this gives him the opportunity to get away from this hand now. So I think I would want to bet here now, but I think I would make it an amount where we can still get called by a 10. So I don't want to go too big or anything. I'm just gonna go like third pot or something.
All right, Mark.
See, I'm gonna go bigger because it's such a good card for us to bluff. So 9s in his spot, it's like if someone bets into me here, like with 9s, I'm still calling, and like so tough. But yeah, it's just such a good card for Carlos to bluff at. So I would go bigger. I'm gonna get greedy here, and I'm gonna go bigger, and I'm gonna try to get it all on the river.
Also, the guy has like 30 bigs, so I think there's a good chance he gets in dimes pre.
Yeah, I agree.
Versus a button open.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all
actually,
agree.
Let's go more 6s. Let's go more 6s.
Yeah, 9's a little too strong. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, like 6s or something. But I'm betting here, and like a big chunk of his range is going to be ace high floats.
Yep.
I think like the majority of his range is ace high floats, to be honest.
So how much you want?
And
to
I don't
bet,
think he's
Mark?
ever folding a 10. I mean, I'm going to over jam the river because I know we can't set up an exact pot size rip on the river. I'm going to probably go maybe 5K, like 2/3, something like that.
Okay. Yeah, 5K would be exactly 2/3. Yeah, I mean, I think when I'm polarizing myself, like, you're really representing a big hand when you bet big, and you're also going to have a lot of bluffs. This is, as Mark mentioned, a great card for us to bluff. So I might bet even more than 5 here. I might go like 6,500 into 7,500. I mean, actually, you could probably even overbet.
You might be able to get it all. Yeah,
Yeah.
you might be able to get it all on the river doing it that way.
Yeah. I think it does set it up a little better, and also, it's just like I don't know if he's really gonna be able to cling on for dear life with 6s, but I would be more optimistic that maybe because we bet so small on the flop, he might have like some ace X that wasn't quite good enough to like 3-bet pre-flop, but now made a top pair on the turn. Like we're going to be able, we want to bet like really hoping that he has that ace. And I do think a lot of his flop calling range is some ace X, like you said, Mark. So for that reason,
and the backdoor hearts too, Clayton. Backdoor hearts is there now, so he's not folding to like. I mean, he's not going to fold the 5K. He's not going to fold the 6K with the backdoor hearts. I don't think the 10. He's not folding a 10 either to any.
Oh.
Well,
you can't. Yeah. He's not folding the 10. I'm assuming he's not folding the 10 because I'm pretty sure that wouldn't be a good GTO fold. And I just try to, come from that point of view when I'm playing against these people as opposed to being exploitive. If I'm him and this is an ignition tournament, I would fold a 10 to this turn bet. But I don't think he's allowed to fold it in theory if he's playing in a tougher game where people can find bluffs on this card.
Yeah, bottom line, folding a 10 to even a large turn bet is pretty exploitable.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, just like if you don't have any calls, if you're folding a 10, you don't have any bluff catchers. So at that point, and like you said, like now the hearts are coming, so Carlos can have a lot of back doors now. So my 10 could still be good. Yeah, I mean, even if you bet pot, like now I'm starting to talk myself into betting more.
I think that's fine. You as long you can get it all with this sizing or high. I mean, you don't want to go 10K or anything, but
no, that's too much. Yeah.
I think this sizing is good now that I see it.
Well, what's fun is I don't know what sizing Carlos used, but it turns out I just clicked it and now he's putting in 49.50. So whoever said 5K, I'm sorry, but you were off by 50. So keep working on it. No, that's pretty impressive. Yeah, so he goes 2/3 here, minus 50. And let's see, the big blind decides to call that. So now we are set up for a river shove, but it would be a slight overbet. There's 17.4 in the pot, and the big blind still has 21K. In his stack. So it's not a ridiculous shove on the end, but we do tend to want to keep our river shoves to less than the pot, which kind of seems to argue for a slightly bigger bet on 4th Street, right?
I agree with that. When you said 65, I really like that number because that gets us closer to a pot size bet on the river.
Okay. So now that river, as though Carlos were not comfortable enough, the river is actually the 6 of spades. Remember, we have the 6-5 of diamonds, so the final board is 10-5-5, ace 6. So we have a full house, although not a particularly strong one as full houses go. And our opponent checks once more. So do we pull the trigger on the full stack, or do we try to just squeeze a little more value out of a 10? I don't know. Derek, what are your thoughts? You go first.
I think I would have done something different, but after hearing you and Mark talk more about the turn, I think you guys are right that like ace-high floats are probably his most likely holding, and I don't know if he's gonna. I mean, obviously I don't know a lot of this villain, but I think he's calling an ace against button versus big blind. So I think I'm just gonna go for it all here. I don't think he's folding.
Yeah, and to be clear, I agree with you, Derek. I don't think he's folding an ace, but to be clear, I don't think that most of his range is necessarily, ace high floats when he calls on the flop. But I definitely think that those hands are part of that range for sure.
Sure.
So there's some chance that we're up against an ace here. And since we're unlikely to get much value from, weaker hands than that, much weaker hands than that, we might as well just be optimistic and hope that he's got what we want him to have, right? What do you think, Mark?
Well, ace 10, so for turn, ace 10 and backdoor hearts are all calling. That's a huge chunk of his range, obviously, combined. Ace X, pretty clear to me that I'm going to jam. I think it's a tough fold with a 10. If this guy thinks Carlos is good, it's just like such a good spot to triple off. Just put massive pressure on him. I would just over jam. Now comparing it to what you could do, I think 6K looks really strong of a bet, where I'd be tempted to fold an ace in his shoes. So I think I'd want to look the most bluffy if I'm in Carlos's spot, and I think shove does that.
Yeah, some players will fold to a smaller bet if it looks too suspiciously strong, and they might be more likely to call that shove. That's an interesting
especially
point.
Stronger players. Fishier players will just pay it off, but just because we have an unknown, I'm just going to try to get it all and be a little greedy. I guess if you bet 9K, I think shoving. I think 9K is the same as shoving almost.
Yeah.
Maybe not, but it's close.
I mean, certainly in a cash game, I'm all in, but I do think that sometimes in tournaments, just accumulating. I mean, Carlos is already doing great in this tournament. He's got his whole table covered, by the way, at this point in the tournament, and I'm assuming that means that he's got a stack that's probably in the top 10% ish of the whole field at that point. So he's not necessarily looking to, I need to try to keep up. He's already more than keeping up no matter what. Now, let's look, before Carlos tells us what he did, let's look at what his bluffs might be. So if we shove here with, basically the nuts, right, we also need to shove with some bluffs. And to me, most of my bluffs are going to be like the queen jack, king jack, especially if I have a heart or even two hearts, where the backdoor came in on the turn and gave me a combo draw, but now this 6 is a total brick, but I still need to represent a really strong hand. I have a nuts advantage when that ace comes because I'm allowed to have pocket aces and this guy's not.
Yeah, well, what if you have king 4 here or king 3 or king deuce? Are you just giving up here?
I'm not sure how much of my king deuce I'm going to continue.
You're continuing on the turn if you bet the flop.
You do have to continue on the turn, but do you want to keep it going on the river? I don't know. I mean, what's the difference, right? What's the difference? It doesn't matter what we have. We're bluffing. So, maybe we have a lot of bluffs here.
See, you nailed it, Clayton. We have a lot of bluffs here. We have a lot of potential bluffs here. And for that reason, it does matter. Because if you use them all, now you're over bluffing. And the way you differentiate is choose the bluffs that block his bluff catchers, or unblock his snap folds. So on the turn, it's great to have two hearts in your hand, but that's not so great on the river because now he's less likely to have two hearts in his hand. So he's a little bit more likely to call you. So I don't think I would bluff the river with hearts. So the way I kind of approach these spots is I think about what hand do I really want him not to have. Obviously, that's an ace. I'm not really worried about ace, king, ace, queen because he doesn't have those in his range. He's raising those pre. So I don't know if this, I haven't checked this in the solver, but generally in my studies, solvers do kind of think along this path. I kind of want to block the aces that he wouldn't raise with pre. So like a hand that contains a 4 or a 7, I think those are great bluffs here. Something like pocket 4s without a heart or pocket 7s without a heart. Because they block him from having a 5. Because he's less likely to have 5, 4, 6, I guess the 7 doesn't matter so much about the 5. So I guess pocket 4s is great. Pocket 4s without a heart because he's less likely to have 5, 4, and he's less likely to have ace 4, which is one of the aces that he wouldn't raise pre. So I think that's what you want to do in this spot is bluff with hands that block his calls, but they don't block his folds.
Yeah. Now, can you guys tell Carlos has been studying? I mean, this guy, he came up from the $2 tournaments, and now he's talking about the game in a very intelligent, high-level way. That's it. That's it right there. You don't want to have too many bluffs. You have so many potential bluffs. If you use them all, you're just over-bluffing, and that's extremely exploitable. Just call. He's bluffing way too much, so call. Right?
Exactly.
He talks about hands a lot differently now than he did from the trunk of that car 10 years ago.
All right. Yeah, so Carlos, how did you play this river?
I agree with you guys. This is, at least in theory, this is a jam. And because I've been studying theory stuff, I went with it here. If you know something about this player, that kind of leads you to choose a different size exploitively, I think that's probably better. But because this guy was an unknown to me and I'm in, a almost $1,000 buy-in on WSOP, I'm just going to give this guy more credit than the average unknown I'm used to playing against. So I'm gonna try to stick to GTO here. So I stuck it in.
Yeah, so you stuck it in, and just to clarify what you're saying here, if you think this guy's a good player, then shoving is better because good players are able to make those thin calls, and they don't just get scared because somebody went all in, right? He's capable of bluff catching you, or attempting to bluff catching you, not of course realizing that you have so much of a hand, right? So, but against a weaker opponent, they're just going to fold to. They're not going to think in terms of what your bluffs might be or how likely it is that you're bluffing. They're just going to see, I don't want to put all my chips in. I only have. I mean, a really weak player would be like, I just have an ace. I don't want to call all the way down with an ace.
I mean, against a weak player, I'd bet like 1/3 there and just get paid off by like pocket sixes or random. Probably doesn't have pocket sixes, but like I'd probably just get paid off by a random 10 and be so happy about it.
Yeah, for sure. And then just looking at the field in general, and since we don't really know much about this particular opponent, just assume that he plays in line with most of the field, which is at a fairly high level, and like you say, a higher stakes online event. So, yeah, I like shoving. Derek, your thoughts?
Yeah, I like the shove. I think I'm doing that. Like, I think Carlos said it best. If I had some information on this opponent that led me to believe that, he just wasn't going to call off on that spot, then I might do something differently. But against a random player in this field, I think going all in is good.
Yeah. Now, in villain's shoes, are we really supposed to pay off with a 10?
Carlos has been spazzing.
Yeah, apparently. Carlos is a wild man, so.
I mean, if he has, it's a really tough call with a 10. But it's a really tough call with an ace too.
Yeah, I think he kind of want to think in the same manner, in that he wants to call with hands that block my value but don't block my bluffs. So I think he may have enough aces to call with that he doesn't need to dip down into the tens, but it's just going to be a math problem. And honestly, because I'm jamming, he needs to call less often to keep me honest. So the aces are probably enough.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah,
100%. Go ahead, finish. Sorry.
No. That's all I was going to say. Yeah. I think
if he has ace X, no Broadway, no heart, I'm beating you into the pot, because you're gonna barrel all your Broadways too and all your hearts. So if in his shoes, if I don't have any of that, I'm literally, my chips are gonna be in before yours are, and you get them all.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping for.
Yeah, I love when I snap call and I'm wrong. That's the best. That's the best feeling in poker. Is like, gotcha. Oh wait, you got me. Oh, okay, good game. Well, yeah, that's Thanks for sharing that hand and your insights in it. So if you want to think like a bracelet winner, rewind this and listen to that knowledge about blockers that Carlos just dropped on us, because there's a lot of wisdom in those words, and it's clear to me that your game has come, as Derek said, a long way since the trunk, since the hatchback. Yeah. So Carlos, tell us what you're working on these days. Where can people find you? What are you up to? You looking for students? What's happening?
Yeah, definitely. We'll be looking for students when this bracelet event series ends in about 2 weeks. Right now, I don't have as much time, but starting August, September, rest of the year, I'll definitely be looking to take on more students. But if you're looking for me on a daily basis, I'm generally on Twitter nonstop, all day, every day. I also have a podcast with TPE host Andrew Brokus and Nate Mavis called Thinking Poker Daily, where we do strategy hands. It's all strategy from subscribers. They submit hands, and we talk about it every day of the week, Monday through Friday. So I'm sure we can get you guys a link to that. Earlier, I mentioned the hand history review I did for Andrew Brokus called Exploiting Small Stakes Tournaments, and also the classroom style product that I did with Alex Fitzgerald called How to Obliterate Passive Tournaments. So that's what I've been up to over the past couple of months.
Well, it sounds like you're keeping pretty darn busy, and he didn't mention this, but his Twitter handle is hiphop101 trivia, hiphop101 trivia, and he is a great follow, always humble, always funny. Derek, tell us what's going on with my favorite website, tournamentpokeredge.com.
There's only one thing people need to check out over at Tournament Poker Edge, and that's the photo of Carlos in the pool.
With his flotation device securely tied around his chest. Yes, it's a great photo.
I definitely do encourage people to go check that thread out, though. It is in the forums, and you don't have to be a member even. So if you're listening and you're like, oh, this sounds like a great thread, I just want to go read it, but I'm not a member, damn it. You can still go check it out. So get over there and check that out as soon as you can. The hand reading series from Daryl Jace just finished up. Part 6 of that just came out, and there is a series running from Colin Moshman and the aforementioned Andrew Brokus. So lots of good vids up there for people to check out.
Derek, I have to say, I know you're the boss around here and everything, but you're really missing a huge profitability opportunity by not putting a paywall in front of that photograph. we should it should cost an extra $50 to see Carlos in his swimmies.
I co-sign that idea, Clayton.
Good point. We'll save it for his OnlyFans.
Okay,
NFT. Let's make it an NFT. Derek, make that shit an NFT.
Awesome.
One of one.
Yeah.
One of one.
Let me say this before we wrap up, guys. Like, once again, thank you, TPE. All the members that helped me out along the way, all the pros, all the owners, just I know that nobody has this level of success on their own. So I know I'll never forget that, I stand on the shoulders of giants and Mark. So
And Mark, he had that one waiting.
He scripted that, goddammit.
That was so scripted.
That is
Hey,
amazing.
Carlos, we love you, man. And the story you said, honestly, it meant a lot what you said earlier about us about coming to Vegas. Truly mean that. So you already know I'm happy for you, but even more happy now.
Yeah, we're happy for you. We're proud of you. Mark, is there anything you wanted to say on the podcast that because we don't get you on very often? Is there anything that you didn't get to that you wanted to tell people?
No, after a shit year with the pandemic, dealing with that, it was nice to see someone cool success story. So yeah, no, I couldn't be happier with everything, and it's all because of Carlos. It's super sick.
I'm super proud of you, man. And Mark said this earlier, and I have a text from him to prove it, because he texted me and said, man, other than me, I can't think of anybody I would rather see win a bracelet. And I still have a text if anybody doubts it's true. So, and I definitely agreed with him. So proud of you, man. And let's celebrate when we get to Vegas.
Definitely, man. Fat burger shakes for everybody.
Fat burger shakes. Fat burgers all
Let's
around. So for Derek Tenbusch, for Marc Alioto, and of course for bracelet winner Carlos Welch, I'm Clayton Fletcher. Thank you so much for listening.
I wanna hold them like they do in Texas plays. Fold them, let them hit me, raise it, baby, stay with me. Luck and intuition, play the cards with babes to start. And after she's been hooked, I'll play the one that's on her heart. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. I'll get her heart, show her what I got. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. I'll get her heart, show her what I got. Carry mine, no she can't read a mile. Hold the face, she's got to love nobody. Carry mine, no she can't read a mile. Hold the face, she's got to love nobody. Poker face, poker Oh, gambling is fun when you're with me. I love it. Russian roulette is not the same without a gun. And baby, when it's love, if it's not rough, it isn't fun. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. I'll get her hard, show her what I got. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. I'll get her hard, show her what I got. Can't read mine, no, she can't read my poker face. She's got to love nobody. Can't read mine, no, she can't read my poker face. She's got to love nobody. Poker face, poker face. Poker face, poker face. Can't read mine, no, she can't read my poker face. She's got to love nobody. Can't read mine, no, she can't read my